Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and Nemesis Dreadknights to that 6+++ show. I'm your host, Tom, and I'm back for State of Play. You know this show. This is where we go in depth on different factions, talk to people who've been absolutely killing it out there in the world with a particular army, try and get the lowdown on how that army works. And I'm joined tonight by a specialist in the Grey Knights, the demon-hunting silver boys of the Imperium, the one and only Ed Watts. How are you doing, Ed?
Hello, guys. Yeah, not so bad. Not so bad, you?
Yeah, very, very well. Excited to have you on.
Fantastic.
It's nice. This is your first time on the show, I believe.
Yeah, first time. I've been on a couple of podcasts here and there, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to do more of them because it's always fun just talking 40k, isn't it? So
it's lovely. It's really, really nice. So, Ed, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in 40k, and then we'll get into the Grey Knights themselves.
Cool. Well, I've been playing competitive for about 3 years. Been in the hobby since I was about 14. So a bit longer.
Yeah, nice.
About 10 plus years. But yeah, I've been doing the competitive scene for about 3 years. I actually started on Grey Knights ages ago. Back around the same time when the Nemesis Dreadknights were good then. And this feat seems to have gone full circle for my first time at a final. And I had 3 of them again.
Yeah, Dreadknights are back, baby. It's a good time. Good time for the Dreadknights.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's really good time for the Dreadknights. Really good time.
Yeah, I didn't realize. You sound and play like someone who's been in the scene longer, Ed. So 3 years, that's very impressive. You've come a long way. That's awesome.
I just play lots, and I've got a lot of friends who are better than me, so they just make me better.
That's the way to do it, right? That's the key. You've got to have those tough games. Wonderful. Okay, well, obviously you made the final, came very close to winning the whole damn thing at the South Coast.
Almost.
With Grey Knights, and I think probably heralded in an era for Grey Knights. I think whether you meant to or not, I think people are paying attention now, and it's gone from something you were plugging away with and doing good work with to something suddenly I think everyone's got their eye on. So it's a good time to get into the faction, talk about the ins and outs of it and how you found it. Before we dive into the specifics, I guess if we think about Grey Knights as an army in the game, what do you kind of see their role and their place as being generally? What's the kind of point of them? What's the niche they fill?
So the niche they fill in the game is something that's like, so imagine you've got like an army that doesn't do loads of damage, but can score and try and play a game into anything from having a little bit of good OC here and there. Be able to sort of have not many data sheets, but you have to use them well. So if that sort of suits someone's play style, it works quite well. And there is 1,000 tricks if you build a list that can utilize those tricks.
Yes.
But obviously, if you skew into certain ways, you are limited with the tricks you can use in those lists. And all that sort of stuff. But my Terminator builders with 3 Libbies, 3 Terminators, and all that sort of thing. There's loads of tricks you can do with that list.
Yes.
So it's an army that you'll just keep learning with as well.
Yes.
So it's always engaging. So you can use that army for 20 games. The 21st, you'll be like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's always something else you can pick up on.
And that's a great place to be, isn't it, for a comp player? Because it keeps you entertained, keeps you interested. The games don't play out the same way every time. You've got a lot of options, and because of the phenomenal tricks, which we'll get into, you can really play different armies in different situations in very different ways, which is super exciting.
For sure.
I guess before we get into the fundamentals of the army in terms of its enhancement strats, everything else. Obviously, they got a little bit of a glow up in the recent slate. How did you find that change the way you were playing them? Because obviously you were repping them before that. How did the data slate change things for Grey Knights?
So the data slate basically, it didn't change an awful lot, but the big change was Dreadknights. So the Dreadknights was the fact that they used to hit on 4s with their Grandmaster Nemesis hammers, and they hit on 3s with the sword. Now that wasn't too reliable, and the Psychonom was only AP1 and didn't ignore. Major change of Dread Knight, which on the first scan of things seems okay, but then when you realize they can actually start taking out vehicles now with the if you got 3 of them, that's 18 damage, 3 shots a turn, AP2 ignoring cover, that'll pick up a marine vehicle. And that was basically where the Grey Knights were struggling. So that's one thing that my army, my old build without the Dread Knights, because I was using the MSU build for a long time. Put me into a Chaos Knight matchup, I'll just die. Like, I'll just walk forward onto objectives and I lose. Like, happened with Josh Roberts at LGT, it happens, right?
Yeah.
But now with the Dread Knights, you can play those armies and not just play them, but win and push the differential. Like, it's a huge difference. Like, being able to, especially with the Librarian unit and the Dread Knight. So, like, if you get lucky, say, for instance, not even lucky, if they spike a touch, right, and get 3 wounds through on like a Predator or something, they go down to 4 wounds or 2 wounds, whatever they have, suddenly a Vortex kills it.
Yes.
And it keeps that efficiency of basically, it's not just the fact that they actually got AP2 in all cover, it's the fact that they're efficient with the other pieces in the army as well.
Yes.
And so utilizing those combinations, like, and even if the Vortex doesn't work, grenade strat, you've got so many levels of security to kill that asset. And having that level of security to be able to take out those assets and make it reliable is super efficient.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the thing. And as I say, I was certainly looking at it from a Drukhari perspective and seeing that new profile. I was like, oh well, that just auto kills Raiders. It auto kills Venoms. As soon as they get lit up by this, they're going on the 6-up invuln and they're just hoping. So it's a really high quality improvement of life, and I think AP3 ignores cover or whatever. AP2 ignores cover. Which
AP2,
one is it?
AP2.
AP2 ignores cover is a really sweet spot and puts plenty of things on their invuln and goes through, as you say, any lighter chassis is in serious trouble. Which
also amazing into custodes.
Amazing into custodes, maybe that's something we need to talk about as well. Then that's quite a nice spot to be. So obviously, I think that's what I liked about the slate was that suddenly a lot of the lists that you saw coming out for Grey Knights looked a bit more. I say they were a little bit like 9th edition. They had a bit of a mix. You got some Dread Knights in there. You got some utility as well.
Yeah.
A little bit more of a combined arms approach. And we'll talk about how you've done in terms of your recent run in a moment. But let's just go for the uninitiated. Let's just talk through the kind of some of these tricks we've alluded to, right? Some of the ways that you can bamboozle your opponent. If we start with just the army rule, because that's pretty tricksy in and of itself.
Yeah,
what's the source with the army rule?
So the source of the army rule is like the source what you use in terms of every game. So you've got a rule where you can pick up a amount of units at the end of your opponent's turn equal to what level battle size you're using. Obviously, we're all playing Strike Force for 2,000 points. It's 3 units. If you go down by 1, it's like 1,000 points. It's 2. Up by 1, it's 3. Up by 1, it's 4. But you can pick up 3 units at the end of your opponent's turn, as long as they're not battle shocked or what's the other one? Or engagement range. So basically, those are the 2 that you can't do. You might be able to do it when you're battle shocked. I have to double check that one. But basically, you can't do it if you're engagement range. It's the main one I know. So if you get picked up, you go to Strategic Reserve, and you can come back down and Deep Strike, because obviously everything that has a teleport assault ability also has Deep Strike.
Yeah.
So you basically have 3 units a turn that can remove themselves from the board and put them into a more key asset, like Strikes can sticky something, come up and then do mission play. All that
amazing.
Sort of and if you have a Callous in the list as well, suddenly you have 4 pieces, which is insane for mission play. Like he scores tactical very, very well.
Yes,
which is super impressive.
Yeah, Drukhari score great off the back of that on Mandrakes, but you can do this on Dread Knights, Terminators, all sorts of things, which means in terms of, we had other armies at earlier points in the meta, GSC and Deathwatch, where it gives you that ability to really clear out chunks of the board whilst playing the game, scoring really well. Yeah. And your opponent is never going to have you pinned in a location because you're always going to find new places to pop up and make trouble. So it's a super cool, super powerful baseline rule.
Yes, it is a very, very cool baseline. Like, it's a very good place to be because you've got. It's also like if you go second, that first turn pressure is huge. It's huge in certain games. I'm pretty sure it works in UKTC. No, it works in UKTC. It's if you go second, having that build up of picking up 3 units and throwing them in your opponent's face turn 1. If they can't handle that, like GSC, GSC go first against me, they're first. They're like, yeah, I've gone first. I'm like, oh no, because I'll just throw everything at them. Yes. It's a really good place to be with that sort of army rule.
Completely.
But they know. So you've got the. They can go to stratagems if you want, because that's where.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into all the juice. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So first of all, we're going to start off with the boring one. Armor Contempt. Everyone knows that. I know what that does. It's a war gear stratagem in this, not a battle tactic. If anyone didn't know that. Yeah. So you can't. If you have like a free strat somewhere, you can't use an Armor Contempt. But effectively, -1 AP to the thing that's shooting at you. Combine that with cover. You've got basically 0-up save Terminators running around. It's fantastic. Or 0-up save good. Like Strikes or something, because everything has 2-up saves army wide. So that's really effective. Then we've got Mist of Deimos. This is a big one. So
very big.
So this is where the big trick comes in, because you can tell someone how Mist of Deimos works at the start of the game, and maybe even twice more throughout the game, and you will do something at some point that your opponent will not appreciate. It's going to happen. So first interaction is, so in fact, the way the stratagem reads is if your opponent ends a move within 9, so if they move out of it, they're fine. Ends a normal move or fallback within 9, then you can basically spend a CP and put them back into Strategic Reserve, or move. I'll do a normal move. Now the normal move is up to 6 inches, so Terminators will move 5, but it's a move. So that's one thing that that's one bit that people forget, and how effective that can be. And I'll go on to where that can become in clutch in other situations.
Amazing.
And then so that's what Mist of Deimos does. Now the big trick with Mist of Deimos, which is one thing that people forget. So imagine someone tries to bait out Mist of Deimos. So you move out a unit move out a combat unit behind a wall. You can't see them, so you can't shoot them, but they're going to charge you have a 6-inch charge. So then you're like, cool, Mist of Deimos. Pick them up, go into Strategic Reserve. Fantastic. Or go into Deep Strike.
Yeah.
And then at the end of your opponent's move, you rapid ingress them. 12.1 away from the same unit.
That is let's say, extremely naughty. I love it.
Yeah. And let's say they've killed the Terminator because you've let them. Like, let's say they kill the Terminator. I'll just res a Terminator out, move, and that's suddenly a 3-inch charge.
Yep. Oh my word! So that suddenly them trying to get you turns into them being very much got by you, which is great.
They have to screen out their threats.
Yeah,
that's the bit where it gets a little bit tasty. So the thing is, I'll tell people that I even tell people at the start of the game about that trick, because even though everyone knows that rapid ingress exists, I still tell them about it. Yeah, it's like, by the way, I can rapid ingress with the same unit if they're Mists of Deimos. And they'll say, yeah, sure. But sometimes then they get tunnel vision on the Mists of Deimos unit, right? Yeah. So I sometimes have a unit of Terminators in reserve at the first Fray unit. And let's say I put like a Librarian unit into Mists of Deimos, or like a Drago unit into Mists of Deimos. They might then turn around and go, well, that means I only have to screen out a 10-man Terminator unit. But then they'll forget the other Terminator unit in reserve, and then the other one can rapid ingress then. So you can rapid ingress another one. There's just so many different tricks you can do.
Yeah.
So another trick with
slippery, isn't it? It's very slippery.
Very slippery. It's very slippery. So those are the tricks with Mists of Deimos. And another main one is, this is a big one. So sometimes people line up shots with just the tip of their guns, like Eldar do this a lot. Just the tip of their guns, so they can get like 5 fire dragons in to see something. And most of the time, it takes more than 5 fire dragons to do so. So I've done this trick. So they move out five fire dragons to line up a shot. Bear in mind, I've told them how Mists of Deimos works. I've done it once already in the game, right?
Yep.
So no excuses at this point, right?
Yep.
I'm very forgiving, but there's no excuses at this point.
You are.
So lined up five fire dragon shots to see one Terminator that's just out of the ruin, right? So they're at an angle where they can just see that Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
They say, do you want to Mists of Deimos away? I'm like, no, cool. And they go, okay, cool. At that point, they think you're not going to Mists of Deimos. Then we've got another unit. And at this point, they've sent out some Shadow Spectres, tipped in their guns through. And you go, cool, that's fine. Then at that point, you can either Mists of Deimos, or you could just move so that both units can't see. And I was like, Mists of CP, Mists of Deimos, so they both can't see. Bear in mind, I've been completely open with this. Suddenly, the Shadow Spectres can't fire and fade. Fire Dragons can't. Not fire and fade. They can fire and fade, but not shooting their move.
Shoot and skip.
Because they have no other targets. The fire dragons have no targets, and then suddenly they have to overcommit to kill this unit, to kill that stuff on the objective. Because I've still got 6 OC on the objective because 2 Terminators are on there, because they're OC 6 between 2 Terminators.
Yeah, that's what I've found, is that the ability to move OC lots Terminators around on points is crazy. When you're trying to deal with it or out OC it, and then suddenly it's moving towards you, because it can do that. It's not just going to run away. That's a real problem. We won't cry for Eldar getting done by a move trick. No, I think
they've had that turn. Grey Knights are the new Eldar, because I used to play Eldar in 9th edition because they had loads of tricks and they were really fun.
They did.
And they still kind of have some tricks, but I feel like Grey Knights are the new Eldar.
Grey Knights have some real tricks. And so Deimos, as you say, it's one of those things, you get warned about it, you understand it, you play around it. It's a bit like Phantasm, where no matter how good you are, I find, at least once in a game, it's going to catch you out. I've never been able to get through a whole game without eventually falling into it one way or the other. And that's the power of the tool, because it can get you in so many different ways that you just never quite know what trap you're going to fall into.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. It's also like little tricks with Phantasm, where they just put a 25mm character behind a wall, and they go, well, if you don't put something on that primary or threaten it somehow, I'll just Phantasm the character out, see a little lone up on the middle objective to get a cheeky 15. It's that sort of stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's pretty good.
Yeah, excellent. Any of the other stratagems worth looking at?
Yes, 100%. So we've got the lone up strat. That's 2 CP. So it's good in very specific situations, because it's not like a reactive strat like the Nurgle strat was. When you deep strike, you then use the 2 CP and you say these are lone up, which is great.
Wow, that's cool.
It's really cool. It's cool. It's thematic, because they've come down and it's like a beam of light, of radiant light around them, and they can't be seen. But it is 2 CP, so it's very situational that you're going to be doing that. So it's kind of difficult to use that effectively sometimes. Yeah, because Grey Knights are CP hungry. They want to be doing the Mists of Deimos. They want to be armed contempting. They want to be rapid ingressing. Yeah. So it's very rare you're going to be using that, unless you're playing like a guard game and you can get that off in a really specific situation to be able to get a 15 or get a 10 or something like that. It's pretty good. So yeah, that's how I use that one. Other stratagems, there are a couple more. I think I'm just drawing a blank. So we've got Mists of Deimos, Aura of Contempt, 2 CP for. Then they got Devastating Wound strap, 2 CP.
Oh, nice.
This is battle tactics. This is on 6s to wound. They can become Devastating Wounds. So 10 Terminators with that can really go off. Or a Grandmaster with the rerolls into a large target can spend. It's only 1 CP to target that for him. So for 1 CP gets Dev Wounds and full rerolls to wound against the big target.
Tasty.
So he can just go with like his strength, like 14 hammer, full rerolls to hit, full rerolls to wound, Dev Wounds. So it's pretty good. He can go in and like do a pretty good number on a big target.
Amazing.
That's really good. I'm trying to think of other stratagems. There probably are a couple more. Those are the only ones I use.
I was going to say, well, in a game where CP is at a premium, that's already such an amazing suite for moving around and bopping things that you kind of that's going to eat up most of your resources a lot of the time, right?
Yeah, there is one more that I remembered, which is actually also a very important one because I use it a lot. Use it a lot at South Coast. Can't remember if I got it. So it's basically if you either advance or you deep strike, you can spend 1 CP and you get the assault keyword and +1 to hit for the turn.
Oh, that's very nice. Yes, that's very nice.
Application. You have 3 Dread Knights. One's in range of a Tech Marine.
Yep.
You give that one +1 to hit. The other Dread Knight that can advance, shoot, and charge spends CP. So you've got 2 Dread Knights with 2 Cyclones on 2s to hit, and they're both on 2s to hit with their hammers.
Very nice. That is very nice.
Very reliable.
Yeah, and that's it.
3 hit no rerolls down to 2s is very good.
Yeah, hugely good. Very nice. And how about the enhancements? Any enhancements get your eye?
Yes. So I didn't use First the Fray at South Coast, just because deep striking 5 Terminators with Libby doesn't really feel that important turn 1.
No.
And it's not like they have the sigil. So if you do deep strike them somewhere that your opponent can shoot them, then they're just going to get shot. And because I had the interceptors in the list and stuff, they moved so far anyway, you probably didn't need that enhancement. But the big one, which every list normally has, is the Sigil of Exigence.
Yes,
this thing is nuts. So if you, it's insane, especially to shooting armies. So if you target when you target them with a shooting attack, they can choose to just pick up and move anywhere on the board 9 inches away. And it's not like they have to. They can just sit like this. Sometimes what people will do, and this is a big trick with Sigil, they will shoot the unit with like they'll undercommit or let me take some saves, because remember if anyone kills 2 Terminators from that brick with a shooting attack, they're effectively only killing 1. Because I'm rezzing, right? And you can res off the board, and wherever they res, they're going to res 9 inches away from someone and maybe make a charge as well, right? So that's a really big application. But you can just let your opponent shoot you. That's the big thing for me. Like sometimes you'll be like, oh, you've only committed 5 Fire Dragons and a unit of Shadow Spectres. I'll Armor Contempt and take my luck. And see how it goes, right? And if you, because the thing is, if you just take some saves, and if you lose like 2 or even if you lose 2 or 3, getting a 15 is amazing. Because even if they kill 2 or 3, you're rezzing on the primary again. You'll suddenly get more OC onto the objective. So if your opponent undercommits, it's bad. If they try and get rid of the sigil, then they'll teleport away and go into a really annoying position for you unless you screen out a lot of the board.
So it creates a proper damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, right? Which is very powerful.
And it'll also eat some shooting. Like if you don't put something in there that's going to kill like 2 or 3 Terminators in 1 activation, they won't sigil. Like, oh, you can kill 1. Cool, go for it. And they're like, what? Because then they'll kill 1, I'll just res. So it just wastes some shooting as well. So it's really effective. Awesome. So the sigil's incredible. You've got +1 to hit, but I had +1 charge on one of them, I think. I can't remember if I did at South Coast, but there's a 15-point enhance for +1 charge.
Doesn't hurt with deep striking armies, does it?
Sometimes if you have 15-point spare, it's fine. But it's okay. And then you've got another one called the Liberta Domicus, whatever it is. It sounds something fun, and it's basically it gives you some extra damage against demons, which is so very specific. I don't tend to take it.
Cute, but not very meta relevant right now.
For being so anti-psychic, the only anti-psychic guy is Drago. So.
But he makes up for it. He definitely does go ham on the old monsters and demons. So that's good fun.
He does with his devastating wounds. He just. I remember the first time we went into Shalax, he did 15 dev wounds. It's like, yay!
So good, so
crazy.
So that's the toolkit, and it's a very, very good one. Very good one. So what are the kind of core units that you like to strap this onto? What have been the kind of go-to staples for you in your list building with Grey Knights?
So my staples up to this point have been the Libby's in 5-man Terminator squads. That's like a signature of mine. Like not many people like running them. Like you got Vic and Manny who probably don't like them as much as I do, but I love them. Little bricks of 17 OC units that get the efficiency out of librarians throughout the game is I think very, very good. Like I know that some people don't like it, but I really like it because you've got the applications of that is You've got more pieces to use your tricks. So you've got something that you can CP pick up, CP rapid ingress, all that sort of stuff, right? So I love the Libbies in the Terminator squads because Libbies themselves have an ability called Vortex of Doom.
Yes.
So on a 2+, they take on a 1, you take D6, you get hurt. It's bad. It's fine. And a 2 to 5, you take 2d3 mortal wounds. You take your opponent takes 2d3 mortal wounds.
That's very nice.
6, they take 2d6.
Whoa!
So the spike potential is insane.
Yes.
Like it's like that one unit. On average, will do about 7 mortal wounds if they use a cheeky grenade strat. If you have the CP for it, because what you can do, because the Terminators have grenades, is grenade strat, vortex, shoot. So that's you can probably kill like a light vehicle or something if you really do have the assets to.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're seeing, isn't it? It's you can really chip down most things because you just have a bunch of different ways of kind of bypassing their durability, really, which is really
for sure. It's also incredible for sniping lone ops because it ignores lone ops because it's an ability. So I played against Aiden with his car park at South Coast, and he put his tech marine in a position where he's like, "Can you shoot him?" I was like, "No, I can't shoot him, but remember I've got vortex." And he was like, "I was on a 2+ though. I don't think you're gonna risk that." I was like, "Fair enough." And then I did because I had sigil.
Absolutely.
I drew assassinate first turn, and we were playing Purge the Foe. That one tech marine was worth what, 15 points? No, amazing. 13 points. So I was like, sure, bang.
Yeah, very, very.
So
good.
yeah, it was that was that. So they're really good at taking out little annoying characters here and there because they ignore the lone off ability. So I quite like them for that, to be honest. I think other examples. The librarian's good. The librarian itself gives them a 4+ feel no pain against psychic attacks, with thousands coming more and more back on the scene.
Yeah.
That is nice because especially if you wanted to take a 10-man unit with a 4 feel no pain against psychic attacks into Thousand Suns is rough.
Yeah,
it's so hard to chew through them.
Yeah,
really hard to chew through.
Yeah. And it's like you were saying, again, it's not the biggest footprint, and it's a truckload of OC. One trick we did forget was the old 3-inch deep strike, right? Have you guys got that?
Of course. I've forgotten that one. It's been a long day, Tom.
My brain just suddenly went, oh yeah, that's pretty good as well.
Yeah, I knew I was missing one. I knew I was missing a strat. So yeah, the 3-inch deep strike,
they've got bangers, don't they, man? That's such a toolkit. Go on, you carry on.
I'll talk about that one. So the 3-inch deep strike's amazing. So I take an interceptor squad.
Yeah.
So I saw 2 interceptor squads, and the 2 interceptor squads, what they do is 3-inch deep strike, shoot, and then move 6. So it's incredible for denying primary, incredible for capturing the outpost, all that sort of thing. And the 3-inch deep strike is the thing that you use on your sigil unit quite a lot to put them into like dangerous positions so they can do their stuff. I can't believe I forgot that one. That was so good.
It's incredible,
some of the
right?
Main ones,
absolutely incredible. I don't know how you manage to account for all of these in a game. I would find it really difficult to actually CP manage across all of these. They're so good. There's so many good tools.
Well, when I'm at a tournament, I've practiced well. So
yeah. You know what you're doing. That's good. That's key. Reps always the key, right? Okay. Yeah. And so we got Terminators and Libbies. What else do you like? Obviously, we talked about the Dread Knights already. We know they're in a very nice spot. Are there any other kind of standout units for you? Interceptors obviously really nice. It's not a huge roster, is it? But what else do you like?
I like strikes. I like strikes because the sticky objectives are incredible. They're OC2. Very useful. They're annoying. Very good. And then, to be honest, and a Tech Marine. I add my Tech Marine because the Tech Marine at the minute is the Tech Marine for Grey Knights is kind of bust. it's kind of bust. Because the abilities are 2 separate abilities.
Okay.
So you can give +1 to hit and +1 to hit to one thing and heal a different thing. And it doesn't sound that great.
Oh, it adds up then. Yeah.
It adds up. So and because there are 2 separate abilities and it doesn't say target, it doesn't limit you to once per. Let's say you show 1 Dread Knight and it takes 8 damage, and you have 3 Terminate and 3 Tech Marines. You can just go heal, and say heal 3d3. I know. I don't think you should be able to do that.
No, but you
can. You can. I haven't done it yet, but I ran 1 at South Coast because I like the 1 just to go +1 to hit, send him off. And then he's also great for picking up and like teleporting around. He's got
that's it. He just becomes a little action monkey, doesn't he? Which is great, and that's really handy as you're ticking off you want to get into those areas and get the cards, but also have something that's a genuine force multiplier for your good units. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. He's got a little flamer. Yeah.
Hey, no.
So
more dead elves. That's what we like. That's what we like.
That's what we like to see. It's what we all like to see. They've had their time.
Yeah, they have. They absolutely have. It's time to get run over now, elves. That's what we want.
Yeah, that's all the leaders I use in the list. But another shout out to Paladins. They're incredible. A 10-man Paladin brick with a Grandmaster is great. I think anyone who wants to take that unit is not wrong. They're amazing.
Yeah.
But personally, I don't like the 10-man bricks just because I find that they're more prone to taking a lot more damage than you don't want them to.
Yes.
Like if a Manticore goes off on a 5-man, you'll lose like 5 Terminators, 5, whatever.
Yeah.
Manticore if a Manticore goes off, like a couple of Manticores go off on a 10-man, you could lose like 8.
Yeah,
and it's horrific. Like you don't want that. You don't want that.
No, absolutely. And it's just, I guess it puts a lot of eggs in one place, doesn't it? And then there's a risk with that.
100%.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, well let's think a little bit broadly about matchups, then we can talk about your final run, because I think that's really cool as well. But if we think about broadly what you think Grey Knight's good matchups in the game right now are, what's the good news? What are the armies they want to be getting their teeth into?
So those they want to get into their teeth into are more like they're so fast, slow armies they've played really well into, especially the Dread Knights. The Death Guard are generally speaking a pretty good game now. Yep. Before they were a little bit tougher because you couldn't take out Predators on an objective, whereas now you can.
Yeah,
just super good. What else is good? Like I'd say, like another good example of a good matchup is like Drukhari, because they can't really get their teeth into them very well.
Hate it when you get in behind them and they just can't catch you. Yeah.
Nah, like Grey Knights generally speaking love Eldar.
Yes.
In certain builds, especially if they have the Wraith brick and have all the MSU around it, they lose so much MSU from the Wraith brick they can't screen you.
Yeah.
So you end up just being able to do a load of damage to the Eldar. Like you'll go in, pick up 2 screens, and then sigil away. The next turn you come down, pick up 2 screens, and then suddenly they can get shot, or if the Eldar player makes a mistake, you can sigil them.
Yeah.
There's so many ways you can provoke mistakes from an Eldar player in that game. It's very, very, very useful.
Yeah, nice. And you mentioned Custodes earlier on. So what's the Custodes game like for Grey Knights?
So the Custodes game for Grey Knights used to be awful. They're a 4-up filler pain against small wounds. So the vortexes didn't really help that much. You were basically relying on dev wounds to be able to. Sorry, my cat's scratching at the door. 1 second.
That's okay. Can't let the cat not get what it wants.
Of course, he decides to scratch on the door now. You've got the where were we? Yeah. So where were we on the
Custodes? Custodes.
Custodes. Can't just call it door now. So the Custodes, if the Dread Knight shoots into the Custodes, they're actually really, really good now. So AP2 ignore cover. Mm-hmm. So they're damage 3. So it actually kills Custodes now, which is really, really good. Whereas before they just couldn't kill them because your only damage output was from Vortex of Doom. And the Vortex of Doom does 4 mauls. I've got a 4-up. You're only doing 2. You're not really killing a Custode with that. It's not really good. And then when you try and charge them, they fight first. It's just awful. Whereas now you feel like you do have a bit more of a game into them, to be fair. So that's quite good. A lot better.
And that's just where that consistent output from the Dread Knights gives you a way of whittling them down. Is that the gist of it?
Yeah, that's the gist of it. Like, it's like 6 shots. You've got basically 18 shots at 2s to hit. You've got 18 shots. 12 of them are 2s to hit and 6 are at 3s to hit. Yeah. And they're all like 3s or 4s to wound, depending on what unit you shoot at. And that can basically make you, as long as you make your opponent sort of trigger their
means the defenses and stuff.
Means the defenses in the shooting phase, and the combat phase you can do more.
Yes.
And also it's like the hammers are great, because if the hammers go in, if you like charge like a unit of interceptors into something, like you base a few models, so you can only get a couple things attacking the Dread Knight. The Dread Knight can then charge in, tank shock, and then use his hammer.
Yes, very nice.
So that will probably kill a Custode with a tank shock. Then his attacks will go in with 2s to hit and then 2s to wound into Custodes. So you probably get like 3 or 4 wounds, and then every failed Custodes, every fails is dead Custode. Suddenly you can start picking up Custodes, whereas before, without those Dread Knights, you just had no chance at all.
So being and that's the way with them, isn't it? Being able to sort of isolate and whittle down things. How about the different flavors of Necron? Where do Grey Knights sit into that sort of stuff?
Necrons actually have a pretty good game into, I think, as a general rule.
Yeah.
Like the Corrupted Court, I think they can play pretty well, especially if you lean into the brick heavy as well. Mm-hmm. The brick heavy build is very, very good for Necrons. My build also works as Necrons, I think, because they just can't really kill 2-up armor contempt stuff. Like Wraiths aren't effective into that, and if you put a 5 Terminators in the middle, and the armor contempt, they've got a 2-up save against most things, so you can basically like bait out a lot of the shooting from their army before you sigil. So basically they're committing everything to do not do a lot. And then Wraiths themselves are only an OC12 unit. You've got the OC15.
Well, that's it. Suddenly they get out OC'd, right? And that's their whole plan. So,
and the thing is that I res 2. So if they attack and kill a Terminator, I res and bring a Terminator back. Like I played against a Monolith build at South Coast, and he couldn't do enough.
Yeah,
at the end of the game, I didn't have
the
much
monolith
left,
must
but...
not like librarians very much either. If they
Oh,
start just
they do
slapping
not.
mortals on it.
So in my game, because I had the 2 librarians, the 3 dread knights. So basically, this one in the game against a monolith, did 5 mortal wounds from the first librarian, 4 mortal wounds from the next librarian. Tank shocked it for 4 and killed it with a combat from the dread knight. Dead monolith.
Absolutely amazing.
Insane. It's very, very good. Very, very good. Like, you've got so many assets to kill large pieces now in the Grey Knights. That was the one thing they were weakening. So I actually think the Necrons are very good as well. Because those are good, Necrons are good. Obviously, this is all dependent on list and player skill and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
of course.
Yeah, it's 100%. But like, I'd say they have a game into those 2 quite well. And Eldar, I think they have a game too.
Oh no, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. They have a game too. I think their big weakness was the guard. Indirect damage 3 bad. Indirect damage 3 is
for
really
Terminators.
Yeah, like, if they're making you take saves, it can go really bad really quickly. But on the flip side, they could just bounce. So it's like it's a 50-50 thing, right?
Yeah.
But the double fields of fire is not something that you like.
No.
So I think now I would change in every Grey Knight list in future is have a Calidus. Yeah. Like, stop them from doing the double fields of fire, because that's really, really rough for you. Make them spend 4 CP a turn to do it. Yeah,
that like, seems fair. Yeah.
Make them spend 4, not 2.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The first time you use it, you can Calidus it, and then they can't double it. And as long as they can't double it throughout the game, your Terminated bricks do have a 3-up save when they Armor Contempt.
And that makes
then you can survive. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, right. Well, we're going to give you the freedom to wax lyrical about your own recent run now. If you're up for it, I'm sure you've told these stories a few times, but I'd love to hear about it because I wasn't there. So South Coast Super Major down on my old turf where I grew up. You had an amazing run. So take us through some of the games if you want to, and what your sort of learnings were with the army at that event.
Yeah, sure. I mean, first game I played Orcs. That was a really interesting game because but then he made one mistake when he did his war. That was the issue. So he did his war a touch too early.
Okay.
But then meant it was more predictable how to play. So obviously then as soon as you know exactly what to do, okay, I'll sit my Dread Knight 17.1 away from you.
Yeah.
I'll shoot you with my incinerator and my Psy Cannon, kill a load of stuff, and sit there. And you can't, and it can't get touched by anything but shooting. Yeah, as soon as I was in that position against them, it was really bad. And also, I went second, and he put a load of Squidcog boys out on the left, and I basically gave me an opportunity to fire 3 Dread Knights into them and 2 librarians and kill an entire unit of Squidcog boys, which they are very durable, but they can't take damage.
They're not that durable, no.
that was my big problem, that unit. But he put them out in the open as like on the left. And because he didn't want to lose the movement from going all the way around or get move blocked, which I understood. I understand it's where they were. I can understand having a 1 or 2 out, but because he had all the unit out, it meant he didn't have himself the security of having a few behind the wall. I could just keep shooting the unit. So so he used the -1 to wound as well. It didn't matter too much with the amount of stuff that was going into it because the damage 3 from the Psy Cannons.
Too much. Yeah.
So so that unit, as soon as that unit went down, the rest of the army becomes a little bit more predictable.
Was that a turn 1 war as well, or?
No, it was a turn 2 war.
Turn 2, but as you say, just once you know what you need to manage, that gives you a lot more play. Yeah.
Because he basically didn't throw Gaz out till turn 2. Sorry, until his war turn. So he wasn't charging anything with Gaz. That's where it became too late. That's where it became too early because he wanted to war turn 3, I think. War turn 2. I'm not an Orc player. I don't know, but I think he wanted the durability turn 3.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think he wanted the durability turn 3 because that was his go turn. And I was like,
okay.
Because if it was me, I'd have just moved all my Orcs up once, all my Orcs up twice, and then war turn 3. Because then you're screening out the board behind you with Gretchen and tanks.
Yeah.
Because Orcs can be quite a challenging game. I think he just played a touch too passive.
Yeah, so I guess there must be a few armies where it's the space that you actually have to come down, and if that starts running out, then that's quite a tough time, right? That makes life. It makes it harder for you to do what you're good at doing.
It's also been tagged in combat, man. Like if it's activation locking in Grey Knights is very good. Like if you just run 6 trucks of boys at them, like it's weirdly annoying. Like annoying. Like well, it used to be anyway. The new build probably doesn't struggle with that too much. We hate the new builds. That's fine.
We're going to talk about it very briefly at the end. This show is about you, and then we'll move on.
That's cool. That's good. That list. So that was the Orc game, and then another standout game for me is Aiden's game in the car park because I went second on Purge the Foe with Grey Knights, and this is an interesting point. So going second with Grey Knights on Purge the Foe, against most armies, almost guarantees you an 8 primary lead ahead of your opponent.
Yeah.
Because they're not, sorry, it's basically like a 12-point difference, because they're not going to get a kill against Grey Knights turn 1, because you hide.
Yeah.
Unless it's guard or something, right?
Yeah.
But they're not going to get a kill because it's turn 1. You get to then go second, so your units get picked up and come down, and you're going to get to kill something with a 3-inch deep strike. So you're going to get 8 primary. They're not going to get 4. So you've started off with a 12-point difference on primary without even doing it. And the big thing there is if you draw a card like Hydra Assassinate turn 1, most people look at that and go, no! But I was like, this is fantastic, because the Tech Marine's there. So I deep struck down, killed the Tech Marine. He can't do anything but shoot me back. Suddenly, then the Grey Knights get picked up, go back over to the suddenly they get picked up, go behind some terrain. He's not getting a kill turn 2. But the big thing he did there was he didn't push soon enough. He pushed in turn 3. That was too late. He needs to be on those objectives turn 1 with that list, because that list is a horrible matchup for me normally. Because if you just push everything at me, I'm just like, I can't kill that many tanks, and they'll just shoot Dread Knights and kill them all. But he didn't push far enough to be able to do that, I don't think. But then eventually I started giving him kills, because I had to. At some point you do. And so I was giving him like 5-man intercept squads, dying primary and move blocking and doing all those little annoying bits. So by the end of the game, I didn't have that much left, but I think it was like I had like a 30-point difference there. I think it was like a 16-4.
Oh, nice, very nice.
So it was a good win in the end. But it can be a tough game if your opponent pushes into you, because they should be fighting for hold more. I should be playing for kill more in that game.
Yes.
And eventually, I should just run out of assets to do kill. Where he should always building more. So he should win by like a third, I think like normally, but it's the first time Aiden played the matchup. He's a very good player, but just didn't play the matchup before, so he didn't appreciate how it was all going to go. Probably scared about my output a little bit too much.
Yes.
But yeah, it was an interesting game. And then I had a great game against Necrons with the Monolith. Nice. I mentioned that one earlier. That was fantastic. That was awesome. and then I played another game against Necrons in round 5.
Yeah, that's the time of year it is.
Oh yeah, he was a nice dude. He's a good player, but he made one mistake. It's always where we Grey Knights. They make one mistake, and suddenly you're in a pretty good position.
Yeah.
So I was in a bit of a rough spot, because where my Terminators were. So when my Terminators were, I basically left a line from a Monolith, and there was like 3 left. And I was like, oh no, he could actually kill 3 Terminators there, and I can't res in my turn. That'll be really annoying. So he went for it, like he should, 100%. But he went for it by bringing out Destroyers as well. But that meant that he shot the Monolith first, and then the Destroyers couldn't see the Terminators.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, that's fine. The Monolith didn't kill all of them, killed like 1. I was like, that's fine. Oof, that's good. And then I was like, res on the primary and get a hold more game, which is huge. But then I could then pick up 3 Dread Knights and shoot like 12 Destroyers. And I was like, awesome. You have 3 wounds.
You're gonna just absolutely obliterate those.
And that's pretty much exactly what happened. Like three Dread Knights dropped down and killed 12 Destroyers. And at that point, he didn't have any backfield. I could start just scoring any secondaries I wanted.
Yeah.
And I think it ended. I think it was like 10 or 11 point difference, but but I couldn't stop him from scoring. But I could control his primary. So I could sort of like be okay. If I have because I think I got a 10 turn 1, then I got a 15 turn 2. Sorry, 10 turn 2 and a 15 turn 3. So I think I could basically go, if I get 2 more 10s, I'm okay. But if I put him down to 5s, I know I'm going to win. So as long as I've got like a 25-point primary lead, I don't care. But then it turned out to be a little bit rough, because he got these 15 at the end.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh no. So, but I still won by 10 or 11, so that was fine.
Oh, that's it.
That's why I had to hammer his primary early on.
That can definitely be that way on that mission for sure. Yeah,
for sure. It can be very, very questionable. And then the semi-finals, which was with Nicholas Willingale, lovely dude. We played, and I went first, and that was not a good position to be in. Really bad one. I was like, no, I was the chosen one. And
Nick's running Ynnari, isn't he? Lots of Fire and Fade Eldar stuff. Yeah.
3 units of Shadow Spectres, 3 units of Scourges. Yeah. I think 2 or 3 units of Hawks. The 10-man Wraith Brick. And a few of the little scoring pieces, like
the Dan Bates. The Dan Bates.
It's literally exactly Dan Bates' list. Even credited Dan at the top of his list.
Yeah. That's great.
So yeah, he played that. Unfortunately for Nick, is I've played that list a lot because obviously Dan's on my team. So I've played against that list a fair few times. I know how it plays. And there was one interaction that what we had, which was on turn, I think it was turn 3, where I zeroed his primary. And this is the thing. He left because basically I put a Dread Knight. It was kind of, I want to say bait, but it wasn't bait. It was more the fact that I knew he wouldn't end the move within 9 of it. So I basically 3-inch deep struck a Dread Knight like in the back of the board. And he was like, well, I'm supposed to kill that. I'm like, yeah, you will, 100%. And he did. He killed it. It was fine. And it wasn't even a good trade. I think I got like 1 unit of Hawks for it. It wasn't incredible. But it then meant I could deep strike a unit of 5 Terminators at the back because he didn't fire and fade onto there. He fire and faded somewhere else. So I 9-inch deep struck down with my Librarian unit, rolled an 11-inch charge. And I was like, this is how I win the game. I have to just play him mad aggressively and hope I hit the charges.
Yeah.
I rolled a 9-inch charge, killed a D cannon.
That's big.
And then, but the main thing was I killed a D cannon like on the left. Oh, no, it wasn't D cannon. It was, I think it might have been Shadow Spectres. But either way, basically with my 11-inch charge, I fanned out because obviously just end closer. So I ended closer to them, but managed to end 2 Terminators within 3 of the primary of his home objective. And he only had 6 models on there.
Wow.
So I had 3 dudes attack the unit over there, kill them, and then the unit the dudes just shuffled onto the primary.
That's
so
huge.
Then I was like, cool, now I zero the primary. And then I was like, okay, this feels in a pretty good position. And then he attacked me. Then he charged me with Wraith Blades. And I'm not gonna lie, Tom. I think I took like 24 up invulns on this unit and fell through. Honestly, I looked at it and went, I am so sorry.
we call that being good at Warhammer. I don't apologize for it. It's fine.
Yeah, I'd love to say that was my pure raw skill involved, but it was not, man. And but then I think but the thing is, I do think at that point I was in a strong position anyway because I zeroed the primary.
Yeah, that's a huge advantage to get in the game, right?
Yeah, and then I think Nick saw how the game was going to go then at that point and then called it, and I was like, that's fair enough, mate, no worries. And then and yeah, so that was the end of that then.
So you're through to the final. You've done it. You've
through to the final. I'm against David. Yeah, against David
Gaylard on the Astra Militarum. Yes.
Yes. Great.
Trashed tier army, anyways. It's fine.
Trashed. Yeah, only 41 win percent rate, right? I think he mentioned every time he brought up the army. We had a great game. David's a fantastic dude. I played him a couple of times. He's awesome, and it was always good when you play someone like that in the finals because it's very relaxed. It's like you probably have the best games you're going to have are in the Top Cut because everyone there is probably people who've played for quite a long time.
Yeah,
they're not about all these little gotcha moments or anything like that. It's very much so playing the game because we want to play the game.
Yeah.
So we kept playing. I had the one, but then on turn 3, on turn 1 to 2, it was actually going pretty well. He was drawing bad secondary cards. I was outscoring him. I was like, yes, come on.
Yeah.
I was like, come on. And then his turn 3 happened. Oh my god. The dude re-rolled a 1 of Manticore shots into a 6 and killed 5 Terminators in 1 activation, I think, by memory.
Oh.
And I was like, no! The dream is over.
Yeah, that's a disaster.
Yeah, and then he killed 2 Dread Knights as well on the same turn. So I was like,
that's when
fair
it's
play.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the score doesn't really dictate how close it was because if he kept killing the amount that he was killing throughout the game, which is probably 3 or 4 Terminators or whatever, then I think I had a pretty good shot on winning. But
yes.
But when I say a shot, I mean I shot, and that's only because he got bad secondaries. If he had good secondaries, I think I'm in a rough position either way. But because he had bad secondaries turn 1 and 2, if he kept having those turns where I rolled even just a touch above averagely, not even loads, just a touch above averagely, so I can keep resing a Terminator, then I'd probably be in a good position to try and win the game.
Yes, absolutely.
But that one turn was devastating. Absolutely devastating. And then it opened up the backfield, so then Caskins start coming in, and you're like, no! And that was the end of the game. But it was the first time I got it into the final, because I think the final cuts a few times, but I got into the final. Even David was rooting me on trying to win. But he was like,
the chats I was in were very excited about you. Let's put it that way. Everyone was very, very excited.
It was exciting to be there. It was exciting to get into the final cut. It's always good to be there. And seeing all the little support network and all the different group chats afterwards is really nice to read.
That's an amazing run, man. And it was with an army that at the time was a little left field, right? I don't think as many people were appreciating what it could do at that stage.
Yeah, not many people ran them just because they don't appreciate I don't think at the time people didn't really look at the Dread Knights too much, right?
Yeah.
I didn't at first, to be honest. When I first read the Dread Knight profile, I was like, they're okay, but I have doubts.
Yeah.
I started using a couple, then around 3 in practice games behind closed doors and stuff. And I was like, this might actually slot quite well into my MSU build.
Yeah.
Put them in the MSU build with the 2 librarians and the Grandmaster, and I quite liked it, to be honest. It was really good. And so now I've used it at South Coast, and
amazing.
almost won it. But now we're moving on to something different.
We are.
So we're gonna go off the Dread Knights. Sorry, we're gonna go off the Dread Knights and off the Grey Knights onto some Tyranids for.
Yeah, so you're moving on to the Tyranids, which I think is completely fair because I think you've had a good swing with the Grey Knights and Major Point, and you don't you don't like wasting time. But we're gonna briefly talk about the possible future of Grey Knights, looking ahead to Manchester. I'm just gonna make you talk about this we're gonna do it really briefly. I won't make you stick on it very long. But fine. there's a rumor in the wind that Grey Knights are all about having several Land Raider Redeemers alongside the Dread Knights right now. Do you want to talk me through what's going on there?
Look at what they've done to my boys. Look at what they've done to my boys. That list was engaged. That army was engaging, fun.
Oh, it was so
lots
cool.
of different tricks, all that sort of thing.
It looked just right as well on the board.
It looked just right on the board, whereas now it looks wrong. Manny and Vic have ruined it. Don't get me wrong; it's a fantastic list, and it's innovative, and it's a very good list. Right? It's very, very good.
What are the Land Raider Redeemers bringing? Is it just to have something that Manticores don't kill easily? Is that the idea? Or
I think it's just pure. To be honest, they kill a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
the main thing.
They do.
They kill a lot of stuff. The Flamers are very, very good.
Yeah.
And to be honest, do you know the healing trick that I mentioned with 3 Tech Marines just going heal?
Yeah.
You do that on a Land Raider.
Yeah, that's.
You show one Land Raider Armor of Contempt. If they don't kill it, then you go and heal.
Yeah. Okay, so that's quite obnoxious. Yeah.
Massively obnoxious. Yeah, but the thing is, the list is very good, and it's also like it's really hard to kill. You know what I mean? You've got 3 Land Raiders, like 5 or 6 Dread Knights, depending on the sort of build you're going for. 3 Tech Marines, and that's it. That's pretty much what the list is.
Yeah,
you can't kill it. Like you can't kill it all, or if you can, you're looking at like an Ironstorm list to be able to pick that sort of level of stuff up. Yeah. But in return, you're getting shot by 30 Psy Cannon shots a turn,
and a lot of Flamer. Yeah,
10d6 Flamers, and then you got all the Redeemer Flamers, and it's so rough. But that's where Grey Knights are heading. Unfortunately, I am not happy about it. But it's another reason why I jumped off, because that's not my play style at all.
Absolutely. Not quite enough finesse in there for you. But I think I'd be interested to see how it gets on, whether that is the future or whether that's a particular moment in the meta, and they'll be able to go back to a slightly more dynamic build a little bit later on. But we'll see.
It has its bad matchups though.
I'm sure it will. Yeah.
I'm not going to go
don't share that here.
Manny would not be happy with me.
He'll be very cross. Yeah.
So, but there are bad matchups. There are ways they can lose the game. But yes, it looks to be very, very powerful right now.
Interesting. No, well, that's cool. Well, I should look forward to seeing what that does. And in the meantime, Grey Knights players, get out there and have fun, because as Ed has alluded to, there's so much you can do with it right now. Incredible army that is going to absolutely annihilate your opponents when they make mistakes, and has a lot of game into all sorts of things in the meta right now. So Ed, this has been a massive treat, my man. You've been a joy to have on. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure being
on. We will have you back again soon. Maybe it'll be Tyranids we'll have you back on to talk about. Let's see how you get on.
If we get to the final again, it'll be fine.
You'll be lining up against Land Raider Redeemers and Dread Knights if you're not careful. See how that goes.
I know how that goes. Not ideal.
Oh, right. Ed, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening in. We'll be back again soon. Bye-bye. See you later.
Bye, guys.